Hello. In this edit, I'm going to show you how to place a fairy or elf in a forest, and we'll do this using SuperimposeX. And one of the first things we can do in SuperimposeX is normally you would select a photo, but you can do search, and by default the search goes to Pixabay, as you can see in the bottom. So I'm going to search for magical forest, and there we have a whole bunch of forest scenes we can select. So I choose this, and as you can see, it's downloaded. The resolution of the image is 6000 by 400. I don't think we need to crop it at this point, so I'll just choose it. So we have created a blank layer in SuperimposeX. Now we need to add a fairy somewhere here. So one way of adding a fairy is we can actually go to Google, and we can choose for fairy PNG, and as you can see, there's thousands of pre-cut PNG files which have the transparency already defined. So you can actually choose any of these, or instead of fairy we might want to choose, let's say, elf and lantern. And there you can already see that there's elves on Pixabay which are cut out. So if I wanted to just get one of these things, I can press on the screen here and save the image. So I can bring this into SuperimposeX. If you try to search within SuperimposeX for elf, you may not have that much luck. So let's check. We'll go to layer, new layer, photo layer, and this time I'll search for elf, and it actually found only 2 images here. So we can choose this one. Now the problem, and this is also a high resolution, 4000 by 6000, but we can actually reduce since we don't need all of it. We'll be masking it out. Choose. So we have 2 options. One is we have to mask out this elf, which is the more challenging method. Or another method is, if you didn't have the time to spend, you can click on layers, photo layer, and just choose the predefined elf with a lantern, which already has the transparency. So if I hide the layer here, you can see that I have a elf that's looks like she's flying, in fact. So transform, aspect ratio, lock, and I'm on the wrong layer, so I can resize it. So I can position it in a way where the lantern itself is matching the bright light from the background, and we can add some rays, but it will look like the lantern is illuminating the scene. So this was one way of doing it, a quick and easy way, but I'll delete this one and show this layer, and we will resize this. So in order to mask this, the first step we'll do is we'll go to mask tool, and auto mask people, and that immediately attempted to mask out something as a starting point. So now we can click on the layer on top. Let me actually turn on the settings, enable touch indicator, so that you can see what menu selections I'm making. So, and I'm going to click on the layer here, and we can see what part has actually been ignored by the AI that selected this. So now what we'll do is choose the pen tool, and instead of erase we'll go to restore, and settings, we'll make the brush size smaller. And what we can do here is now zoom into the area, and we just show whatever amount of wings that you want to do. If you want to be more precise, you can zoom in further and spend a little bit more time going into the details like this. This is a quick and easy way of doing it. And then here we have maybe another wing. So we want to show all this. I think I'll make the brush a little larger so that I can mask it out faster. Now the thing about masking is you can spend as much time as you like doing it really detailed if you want, but if you consider where it's going to get displayed and it's on social media, so here I can click from restore, I'll click on erase, and I'll maybe erase out these leaves in the background that I don't care to show. I think I need to make the brush a little smaller here. Either make the brush smaller or zoom in. Restore, fix this, fix this, fix this. So you get the idea. And then erase, maybe I'll erase a little bit of that area here. And on this side I need to erase a little bit of the hand here. I need to click on restore, get the wing. I'm using an Apple Pencil on my iPad as I'm working here. That allows for more precise manipulation. I think I'm going to click on you notice a diagonal jump. That's a little bit of a bug in SuperimposeX. Sometimes it creates diagonal lines, and if you notice that and you don't want it, you can actually use the back button on the bottom to undo a step or redo from there. And if you get a diagonal streak across your image, you should of course undo that. So here we are trying to mask out a little bit more carefully the outline of the fairy. So as you can see, a good amount of time is spent masking out the outlines here in this case, because we chose the more difficult route of choosing an image from Pixabay that was not a cutout PNG. If time is important for you, I recommend going for a PNG wherever possible. Smoother brush. There it made a line, but I can fix that. So I think that should be okay in terms of scale. Now here I need to erase a little bit around the leg, around this leg. Increase my brush size a bit. Because this image is going to be shared on Facebook with a maximum resolution of 248 pixels, and then the fairy is fairly small in that, I don't really have to worry too much about cleaning up these parts because they will all become much smaller in the final image. So I think I'm happy with the masking I've done here. I can also cycle through by clicking on this eye icon on the top right and check in black and white, and here you can see clearly what areas need to be masked out further. So if I click on the mask tool, I know there are some stray bits which I can clean up here. The black and white mode is very helpful to make sure you have a clean edge. And finally, I click on the layers icon, and here you see the fairy. Now I click on transform. The aspect ratio is locked. So with 2 fingers, I'm going to pinch and resize and place her. Like I said, I'll try to place her where the lantern is towards the brightest light in the background. So it almost looks like the lantern was making the light there as well. Now, if I wanted to get a little fancy, I can add a shadow. So I click on layers, cast shadow, and this is the shadow by default, and I can reposition the shadow any which way. So I'm dragging the corners down as if the light is coming from the lantern. So it will be in this direction probably, away from the lantern. And then I can reduce the brightness of the shadow. I can change the color of the shadow and pick something on the, if I wanted to. I'm not going to bother. And the blur, I can make the shadow blurrier or sharper. I think I'll keep it a little blurry. And then I click on the check mark on the top left. So I've got a fairy with a shadow. At this point, I'm ready to export this image into the next application, which is going to be PicsArt, where I'll try to make it a little bit more magical. So I click on save, and the blended image, I'm going to save it as a JPEG high quality and save. So now I can close out of SuperimposeX, and now I look for the PicsArt. I'm actually going to see if I have a lens light or I have a couple of apps on my, yeah, I do have lens light here, and I also have lens FX. I have a couple of lighting apps. So what I'm going to do is open up lens light, open up the photo, and I click on done, and I click on FX, and I'm just going to choose maybe a lens flare, maybe this one or something. This looks too large. I can reduce the size of it, but what I can do here is make it look like the lantern is giving out the light. I can click on edit and reduce the brightness of the light. I can change the color of it and position that, and I'll click on save on the top right and save to JPEG is okay, camera roll, and I will exit this app. Now I'm going to look for PicsArt, and here's PicsArt. So I click on the plus on the bottom. I think this was the most recent image that I had from Lenslight. And what I'll first click on is effects in the bottom. And then there's magic. So there are different magical filters which are AI kind of filters you can apply to your photo. So you can see it creates different effects which might look magical, and depending on which one you like, maybe this one, you can also click on the flora icon and hold it, and you can adjust the intensity of that. So maybe you want to show a little bit of the colors in the background in the forest which were not available in the original photograph. You have brought out some nice hues here, so you can click on apply. Next I'll go to brushes on the bottom, and here let's see what I can apply. Maybe some flowers. So if I start applying, these are very large, so I'll undo from the top, and I'll click on the size of this and make it small, and maybe the opacity also I'll reduce it, and then I can opacity needs to be more, so I can add some flowers here, and maybe I'll click on what are these here. I don't like that, whatever I did there. There could be a number of different effects you can apply from here. Or we have these lights which are like fairy lights, and when you scatter them around, you'll see some twinkling lights. So these can add a magical touch to the forest, and there you have it. That's the completed image. So you click on apply, click on next, and you click on save. One drawback of the PicsArt application is that it actually saves it to the photo, but it saves it in lower resolution. The image that came out of SuperimposeX was 4000 pixels or something, but now it's been reduced to maybe around 1000 pixels. So we can actually, and then it shows an ad which we can ignore. So PicsArt is a free app. So if I go back to SuperimposeX, I'll click on add layer, photo layer, and I'll click on the last image that was created. And as you can see here, it's 980 by 656 layer. But I have the okay, and I can choose that and transform fit to base. So now what I have done is within SuperimposeX I have scaled it up, and if I save it, it will be saved with a higher resolution. I can save it as a PNG save, and the PNG apparently loads to Facebook in higher quality than a JPG. And that was really it.